we stay on that story now, and I'm joined by Letlhogonolo Letshele, Electoral Systems Officer at My Vote Counts, just to get further reaction on the developments that we're currently experiencing. A very good afternoon to you, Ms. Letshele. Good to have you with us on a daytime update. Your reservations, because you do have some, regarding the possible postponement of elections, what impact do you believe they are likely to have?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Tammy, and good afternoon to the viewers at home. I would not call them reservations per se, but just, they mentioned the two options that they're going to pursue at the moment, which is the Electoral Court and the Constitutional Court route. With the first one being the Electoral Court, we don't have a guarantee of the outcome of that because there's never been a case of this nature that has been taken up to the Electoral Court. So we don't know or we cannot speculate the outcome of the court judgment. And with the second one, with regards to the amendment, it requires 75% majority with the political parties in the National Assembly, which becomes a bit problematic because we know that the political parties are divided on the question of the postponement of the elections. So what becomes when this matter has to be decided by political parties in the National Assembly?
You mentioned the possible discouragement that voters might experience due to postponement of the elections. Talk us through this as well as your reasoning.
Yes, no, this relates to, the growing voter apathy in South Africa. We saw it with the general elections, and we know that municipal elections generally do experience a low voter turnout. So what happens when you postpone the elections or possibly go into a cycle of constantly postponing the elections? You, to an extent, deprive the people of their rights to vote now when it matters the most, where the issues that they have are happening now. Issues such as the potholes, the provision of water, service delivery, that is happening now. So this might really, make voters reluctant to vote next year, whatever date that comes in, which will contribute to voter apathy. You are, in a sense, pushing voters to kind of consider between their health and democracy, which might have an impact on how voters perceive whether voting actually works or actually works in their favor.
I'm sure you will agree with me, Letlhogonolo, that these are very peculiar times. It's not really business as usual in South Africa. And considering the fact that we are in the middle of a pandemic, do you believe that the voter apathy and the levels of discouragement will continue to be as high as you anticipate, considering the environment that we're currently finding ourselves in?
I really think so. Just look at the recent political unrest that we had 2 weeks back, and look at the provision of service delivery, and look at the state of local government that is in. It's in a state of crisis. Municipalities are falling apart. So it's really not fair to expect voters to be enthusiastic and to anticipate voting come next year. It's really not fair on the voters, I think.
And just your thoughts on the digitization of the electoral system. Is that a good idea? And will it make voting equally accessible to those who perhaps are not comfortable with electronics and the quote-unquote new age technology?
That's still on the table. The best that the IEC has done now is just to have a hybrid model for voter registrations where you can vote online or either face-to-face. So let's see how that pans out in terms of how people reciprocate and how they can access digital voting, digital registration at the moment. Then we can see. But given the infrastructure that we have and the concerns that we have, it might be difficult to migrate to online registration without socializing people in terms of putting that integrity with the electoral system and saying this is going to work, this is possible, let's move, and this will be fair. So it might be difficult, but we'll see.
With all of the possible problems with migrating to a digital system now, how long do you see us being in a paper voting scenario? How long will it take for us to become comfortable with digital voting?
I think the issue is the infrastructure, and that's not entirely IEC's fault, and also issues of Germany and USA last year used postal voting, which was easier, like in terms of alternate voting because of the COVID-19. So we were not even able to move to postal voting. So how do we take that giant leap all the way to digital voting? So I think it's going to be difficult. There is the network issues, provision network, there's infrastructure. So it's a bit of a long way to go. but it's possible. I think it's possible. Let's see how voter registration online works, and then we can take it from there.
There is a possibility, Letlhogonolo, of some political parties not agreeing with the postponement of the elections, should that eventually be the outcome, and may even take the IEC to court. What would this mean for democracy?
I mean, those are the possibilities that the IEC had to think about on the options that they decide to take. And this is going to prolong the process because, I mean, the constitutional amendment itself takes 3 months where you have to get political parties to decide on the table. But still, if you go through the Electoral Court, you still have political parties that are just going to file agenda applications against this motion. So this might just trigger a lot of political uncertainty with regards to how the process is done and how maybe courts may favor certain decisions over the other. So it's a very, very precarious period that we're going to find ourselves in. But I think we really, really need to believe in the power of our judiciary and our executive, and also the checks and balances that we have in place at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your insight in this regard. That is Letlhogonolo Letshele. She is with My Vote Counts. She is Electoral Systems Officer there, as we continue contemplating the possible postponement of the local government elections.